twisted maze, leather, steel and fire. The open roads are thrown by your life televised, we're breaking every bone. Adrenaline surges, brace off the fall. Hitting it with hardwire, hear the engine scream. Living fast and reckless, this is our metal dream. Riding hard, never slowing me. In the spotlight we shine, a biker's brutal journey. This life is ours divine. With hardwire, the crowd screams our name, chasing down the shadows, we're addicted to the fame. Chains rattling loud, the brotherhood's alive. Every episode turns up, we're here to survive. From dusk till dawn, we're the kingdom is thrill. Hitting it with hardwire, hear the engine scream. Living fast and reckless, this is our metal dream. Riding hard, never slowing me. In the spotlight we shine, a biker's brutal journey. This life is ours divine. On the edge of chaos, we embrace the feel. Hitting it with hardwire, we'll always be here.
Hey, welcome to Hitting It with Hardwire, my fellow crazy motherfuckers out there. How's everybody doing? We got Evil Rick and Warlin and Papa and Gary, and I think I seen Barbie in here. Yeah, what's happening? How's everybody's week going? We had and Happy New Year to everybody, right? For those of you that didn't come hang out on the New Year's special, yeah, well, you suck. No, I'm just playing. I know everybody had their plans and whatnot. It's all right. Oh, no, not at all. Just happen to like blue. It's all right. And it looks good on me. I'm just kidding. Nothing looks good on me. But not nothing. Oh, whatever. You know what I mean. Still drinking coffee at 2:00 in the afternoon. I had to turn the Steelers game off yesterday when it was 17-10 because I was so pissed off. I couldn't watch any more of it. Just couldn't. It was, the Steelers are an absolute dumpster fire. How's y'all's favorite team doing this year? Well, who do you like? Y'all, I know y'all ain't Steelers fans like me. And half of you probably don't give a rat's ass about football. That's okay too. It's all good. I was over on like Crystal Strange's YouTube channel, and they was all over there having a chit chat about well, they should. There was a long experiment called the Tomlin experiment, and it was pretty much a failure. He hasn't done anything since he inherited Cowher's team. I defended him. I defended him and said he was good for the longest time, and I'm tired of defending him. He's just making bonehead choices. The team sucks. He's got a lot of talent. He's blown more talent than any other coach I've ever seen, besides the Browns. Yeah, I'm tired of defending that guy, man. Warren used to be a Vikings fan, huh? I don't think the Vikings were ever really good or particularly bad, were they? They've always been kind of mediocre. Yeah. I like watching UFC too. That's much more like Coliseum games. uh, yeah, that was pretty sad too. That come in more with Colin Kaepernick whenever he started his garbage, and you see where that landed him though. Absolutely nowhere. It's my red solo coffee cup. Red solo cup. Fill you up. Too old to party. Too old to part. Oh, oh, funny, funny. Uh, yeah. Yes, sir. He sure did. Started costing the what was it, Roger Goodell and all them. Yeah, like I was saying though, I was over on Chris Lestrange's channel there, and they was having a big discussion on religion and science, and I decided to do a little bit of a show on some of my opinions of all this because they seemed to not really pay attention to what I had to say. Even though there's only one person in the chat, they ignored the chat if they didn't pitch in money. So I stick to the supporters of our channels to who I donate money to. I don't have a problem with giving Mike money or donating money to any of the ones that are in our family network, regular family network, you know. But I wasn't giving him money. He comes over to Mike's once in a while, but at any rate, like I say, they was talking about all that yeah, a lot of people really think that you have to be in one camp or the other. You either believe in science or you believe in religion. And ne'er do the two meet anywhere. But I have a tendency to disagree. I believe in a lot of science, and I also believe in a lot of religion. And I don't believe that they're mutually exclusive of one another. If you follow a lot of we'll start with the theory of evolution, okay? Notice the first word in theory of evolution. Theory. It's a scientific theory. It's not a law of physics. It's not a law of anything. It's not a law. It's a theory. They don't know it's true. Even when Darwin wrote it, he knew it was a stretch. He knew that it was it. He was drawing parallels between things that visually seemed, but even he knew that the whole idea that he proposed of natural selection would take billions of years. Things that happened in a lot had to have happened in a lot less time. The human beings have not been on the planet for that long, as long as it would take for this natural selection process to play out the way he thought it would. And he knew and said that if my theory is true, they'll find these quote unquote missing links. And what you've seen that they've called missing links, if you do more research on them, you'll find that they found a little tiny piece of a skull bone and a little tiny piece of a cheekbone, and they guessed at all the rest and told you it was a missing link. Dude, they never found this missing link. It's never been found because it doesn't exist. I've done looked into it quite a bit. I wrote a paper on it in college. Oh yeah, I said that too. I said repeatedly that people that these people that I believe you're doing science wrong too. Okay, if you think you have to have absolute proof and everything, because science is all about finding what's not been proven. It's about moving forward. Okay, and faith is all about believing something that doesn't necessarily exist, per se. You know what I mean? That's not proven. Not that doesn't exist, but not proven. And what's up, Beaker? Thank you for joining me there on the New Year's show. I apologize it didn't turn out to be quite the blowout that I thought it would be. I invited a whole bunch of people to come and join the conversation, and only a few people showed up. That's all right. That's how it works in life too. Not everything goes the way you think it is. What's up, DG? How you doing? Well, see, they found what is it? Cro-Magnon man, and they slowly find these different human-like creatures over the years. Then they find out when they do further and further genetic testing into it that they are, in fact, different species altogether by their genetics, and they're digging around looking to find the missing links and all these things to try to explain why we're here. But that I think they're really looking in the wrong places for explanations. If you follow a lot of modern current science, everything's going towards quantum physics at the moment. And the quantum realm is it's absolutely fascinating to me. It's really nerdy stuff. It's hard to understand. And I don't know how anybody could look at all these things and not think that it would. I'm not saying you have to believe in Christianity per se, okay, by any stretch. But if you look around you every day in an everyday life and you say things like, I don't think there's no place for God in all this, you're really missing because I don't see how you can look around and not see God in everything. And the more you research into some of these different particular fields of science, the more obvious it is. I don't think they're mutually exclusive. I think they're totally intertwined. I read a book called The Case for a Creator once. I don't know if anybody else ever read it, but it really says the more science progresses, the more it points towards some type of intelligent design. It was created somehow by someone. The odds of it being strictly chance is like 1 in a quadrillion. I mean, it's the odds, similar to the odds of there not being any other life out there. The odds are next to nothing. And even the Catholic Church has finally come out and said that if there are other species out there, then surely they are God's creation as well. They've come out and they stopped saying that there can't be any other forms of life and started saying that God might have created other life. And I'm telling you, it all points to eventually we're going to find other life, and we are very infant in our knowledge in science. So many people think, and these are the hard-headed ones that refuse to even look at religion and want to disprove religion, are the really hard-headed ones that think that evolution is like a law. It's a given. That's how it is, and it's totally not at all. It's an idea somebody had, and people are teaching it as if it's fact, and it's absolutely not a fact. It's absolutely unproven. Right, GG. I mean, if you figure our sun is a star, and when you look out at night, there are billions upon billions of suns, and that's only what we can see with the naked eye. We've put out satellites with telescopes on them, the Hubble, and I forget what the newer one is right offhand. The Webb scope, and we're getting ready to launch another one here pretty soon. And we can see that there are billions and billions of stars that we cannot see, and they're finding exoplanets around these stars. And to think that we are the only one is absolutely kind of dumb, really, if you think about it. We can't be the only ones. And we're looking for other humanoid life. And who's to say there isn't life that's not humanoid? We are carbon-based life forms. There could be others. It's entirely possible. There's nothing out of the realm of saying that could totally be possible. Right? Uh-oh. I lost connection somehow. What happened? Can you all see me? Or hear me at least? Ah! I'm back. Oh, you can, without the background. Why did it do that? I don't know what happened. That was the craziest shit ever. Maybe I'm not allowed to talk about it. Maybe there's aliens beaming my studio trying to tell me stop talking about it. Well, I got news for you aliens. I am not going to stop talking about it. You're just going to have to. Never mind. Don't beam me up. I don't need no anal probes. I'm good. Beam my old lady up. I think she needs an anal probe. I keep telling her I'll take care of her anal probe for her. But. Well, I got rid of the green screen per se, and I got the green wall. I painted it green. Painted the whole wall green. I wonder if Walgreens got their name by painting some walls green. Now we're talking about mysteries of the universe. Right on. Hey, Carney, how you doing? Good to see you, man. Thanks for stopping in on my New Year's special. Carney stopped in. Yeah, I don't know how well this is going to work. But I don't know if any of you have been following it or not. Google was doing one of them new quantum computer chips, and they recently had to shut the whole program down, like emergency shutdown. And they say that they made some type of groundbreaking discovery, okay, and it forced them to shut it down. This is some freaky shit. I'm telling you, it's freaky stuff, and it's classified. They can't even tell nobody what it discovered because they've taken it and they've classified it, and they can't tell nobody. That's some creepy shit. They said they think this kind of requires a little bit of knowledge of quantum physics. Does anybody else but me ever nerd out watching stuff about quantum physics? Probably just me. I'm probably about to bore y'all to sleep. But this has a lot to do with quantum computing, hence quantum physics. And I think this is all very. It's hard to look at a lot of this stuff without believing in God creating all this stuff. It really is to me. Again, maybe I'm looking at it through a rose-colored glasses, so to speak, being a Christian myself, but I really don't think it's in the least bit mutually exclusive. They don't have to be in their own camps. It can be combined. God created the world. It doesn't say that he didn't create it somehow. He created it somehow. I mean, if we were meant to understand, we would. And who's to say that we won't eventually? We'll never be God. And that's the problem with a lot of scientists. They think we'll be God. I think we will find God. And when we find him, he'll be glad to see us, is what I think. But, you know, they'd be like, hey, all right, you finally made it. Welcome. Love you guys, man. Yeah, that's kind of my opinion, but opinions are like assholes we all have one. God took a rib and turned it into a bitch machine. Yeah, science has proved a lot of things. There's something else I was thinking about the other day, too. Science has proved a lot of things, but there's some things that we still ain't figured out. You know, there's a lot of things about the brain, our own brain, that we haven't figured out. There's things that science has yet to explain. Like, why does, when an infant's born, before an infant has any sense of what comedy is or humor is, a baby laughs? How is that inherently born into somebody? And also born into human beings is the desire to search for greater truth, the desire to want to believe in religion. There's a lot of dreams, for example. Okay, nobody's been able to explain dreams. You know, that's another thing about humanity that nobody's ever been able to explain. What are dreams exactly? Where do they come from? How? It's proven that you dream before you even know about a lot of things. You dream about things you don't know about yet. You know, there's a lot of theories, but it's like the theory of evolution. They're theories. What's up, Code? How's it going, man? Thanks for stopping in, man. How's the Eagles doing? Are they losing to the Giants? I think they're playing the Giants today. Well, thank you for stopping in, even if you can't stick around. There's very, very few things that are proven. Even what we used to call, well, I think we still call them the laws of physics. They found out in some places don't really apply the way we think of them. So they're not truly laws. So it should be the theory of physics, or physics as it's known here on Earth. It should be earthly physics, because they've already seen places out in the universe where they've observed it. They don't seem to play by normal physical laws as we think of them. Right. See, one of the videos I was watching, Warland, was I'll see if I can figure out how to post in the comments a couple of videos that I've recently watched. I don't know does anybody know who Michio Kaku is? He talks about different dimensions. Okay, now people, I used to know my old pastor. I used to regard him highly because he used to be able to sit and have conversations with me about theories that I had uh, and different things in an intelligent fashion. He was going to college to be a therapist and whatnot too, and he's an older fellow now. But I used to have a lot of good conversations with him, and he told me once. He said, "Imagine, okay, when trying to reference things like the Bible, uh, imagine God as this super powerful being, okay, and say that were us, and somebody told you teach that ant over there algebra. How in the hell would you do it? God's this infinitely knowledgeable, powerful being, and he's trying to teach humans how to live and exist the best he can in our way of thinking, and that's how the Bible came about. It wasn't him necessarily teaching us his way. I mean, his way of doing it. He can't. There's no way he can do it. We can't teach an ant to do algebra. You know what I'm saying? We are intellectually way different. Okay, we see things differently, and same as God did. God's tried to find a way to teach us the right way to do things and the right ways to live. Otherwise, we'd have been human nature. We'd have been animals. We'd have been animals without, God teaching us the best way to live. And that's true. I don't want to say no more about space. We know more about our local bit of space. There's a lot about our own planet that we don't know. There's a lot about our own bodies that we don't know. The human body is is totally a machine, okay? But it's a type of machine, and it's different than anything that we can understand how to deal with and how it works exactly. We have a very elementary idea how it works and what it does. A very, very basic idea of how to keep it going. Someday, I forget, there was an episode of Star Trek where they said, I can't believe these humans used to do this to each other, and someday our science will become so evolved. I mean, we do that now. We look back at the things they used to do during the Civil War, for example, and sawing each other's legs off and whatnot, and letting people die that could have been saved. Someday we'll look back on this era and go, I can't believe they used to treat each other like that, and they used to do these things, and that's how they, used to practice medicine by killing each other. Blah blah. They used to eat these things that they eat, poisoning each other. And there'll come a time in the future where we look back on, even now, how rudimentary and elementary everything is. But I will say, just within my lifetime, how far we've come is nothing short of amazing. And how far we still can go is nothing short of amazing. There was a time when I thought, like around the year 2000, I said, every discovery that can be made, everything's plateauing. We're not going to get any farther. Technology's kind of peaking. And I didn't think there was a whole lot more farther we could go. And there was a time when they thought computers were about as far as you could get them because they didn't have the ability to go smaller below the like the atomic level that they were making things, and they didn't think there was any faster or farther that you could push a lot of things. But they figured out ways to do things, and they've done a lot. Yeah, I consider myself a Christian, but I have very kind of my own unique, I don't want to say unique form of Christianity. I'm no cult leader or anything like that by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't think that science and religion can't coexist. I think they can. I think people try, in one camp or the other, try too hard to be all that they need. You know what I mean? The religion does try to kind of push science away too, and science pushes religion away. And they don't try to meet and try to help each other. And I really, really think that science and religion can go hand in hand. I really think they can. And I really think there will come a day when we will find God, and he will be glad to see us. You know what I'm saying? I really think that there'll come a day when someday that'll happen. We'll get a little too far, or we'll get to where we could see his writing, so to speak, or his building blocks of how we will never understand how he did it, because we can't be on that plane of existence, a dimension where we can't really get to. But there's nothing saying that we can't see his work and his signature in things. And I believe everybody says, why has God never come back? Why has he not come back? I think he's waiting for us to get to that point where we could see it and he'll come back and say, hey, there, you found me. Hey, I left you all these clues on how to find me. And let you work it out on your own. And here, you finally found me, and I'm glad to see you. I really think that's how it'll go. I think that's why he hasn't come back yet. My opinion. And I don't think they have to be. I don't think it has to be a cage match. They've really made it out to be a cage match between religion and science. But yeah, I'm gonna try something here again, and you're gonna have to let me know if you can hear it, because I played with it a little bit earlier, and I thought I had it to where I can do this, and it'll work now. Let's see if we can get this to work. All right, does anybody know who this guy is? Weird looking fella right here. It's Michio Kaku. I kind of it says it up in the corner there. Does anybody ever listen to this guy? Or he showed up on that on a lot of TV shows, been on Joe Rogan and whatnot. You're gonna have to let me know if you can hear this. Now, I tried to make it to where you could hear it, and at the beginning of the show, I was playing with the little mic setting thing, output from my board on StreamYard, and it was showing where it was registering on there, so you should be able to hear it. You'll have to let me know if you can.
We all know that digital computers changed virtually every aspect of our life.
Can you hear
the
it?
arrival of quantum computers could be even more historic than that.
Michio Kaku is a name synonymous with awe-inspiring visions of the future, bridging the realms of theoretical physics and humanity's unrelenting drive to innovate. Over the years, he's been at the forefront of explaining the unfathomable, unraveling mysteries of quantum mechanics, cosmology, and the cutting-edge technologies shaping our world.
I hope I'm not the only one
But in an
who's nerdy enough to
unprecedented
find this
twist,
stuff fascinating.
Kaku's typically optimistic demeanor took a startling turn, as recent events involving Google's revolutionary quantum chip pushed him to the brink of an emotional breakdown. At the heart of this story lies Google's Sycamore
recent.
quantum processor, a marvel of engineering that once
What's up,
sent
Cecil?
ripples through the scientific world by achieving quantum supremacy, a term denoting a quantum computer's ability to perform tasks deemed impossible for even the most advanced classical supercomputers.
I geek
With
out
its
on this
ability
stuff all
to
the time.
process in mere minutes calculations that would take classical computers thousands of years, the Sycamore chip was poised to revolutionize fields ranging from cryptography and artificial intelligence to pharmaceutical research and climate modeling. But what happens when a tool so powerful begins to uncover truths that humanity might not be ready to face? This is precisely the question that now hangs over Google's quantum research team and the world at large, after a series of inexplicable and deeply unsettling events unfolded. Reports first emerged that Google's quantum chip had been tasked with conducting a series of advanced simulations aimed at probing the fundamental nature of reality. According to insiders, these simulations were designed to explore concepts at the intersection of physics, mathematics, and philosophy, questions about the structure of space-time, the limits of human perception, and the potential existence of higher dimensional realms. While these objectives might sound like the stuff of science fiction, they are deeply rooted in scientific inquiry. Quantum computing's ability to process vast amounts of data simultaneously makes it uniquely suited for tackling problems that lie beyond the reach of classical computation.
I really think we're on the verge at any time of discovering something that's just going to blow our absolute minds. I really think we are. We're right on the cusp of finding and figuring. I don't know, but it might take a lot to figure it out. The bad thing is I was thinking about this earlier too. You know, when they first blew up an atomic bomb, they didn't know if it was going to actually. There was a lot of scientists that thought it might light our freaking atmosphere on fire. You know, there was a legitimate chance when they blew up that first one. They wasn't sure if they were going to kill the whole world. As crazy as that might sound, and they did it anyway. That's a scary thought. They did it anyway. They're playing with some serious crap here. You know what I mean? They're playing with some serious crap here. And it could either, just like the great things it can do are almost unfathomable as far as like science, fixing things, new discoveries, all kinds of amazing things can come from this. But there's a legitimate chance that this could be horribly disastrous. And that's another scary thing. But that's science has always kind of been that way. There's always a legitimate chance of absolute total disaster. And that's the thing about science and humanity and the whole world. We've always been kind of right there at the tipping point. This could go real bad. You know, this could go really bad. Or, you know, find out some amazing things.
In this case, Google's researchers hope to use Sycamore to test theories suggesting that our universe might be a holographic projection or part of a vast multiverse. Initially, the experiments seem to be proceeding smoothly. Early simulations produced results consistent with established theoretical frameworks, lending further credence to the hypotheses being tested. However, as the experiments progressed, anomalies began to emerge. Anomalies that defied explanation and hinted at the existence of phenomena that could not be reconciled with our current understanding of physics. One of the most perplexing anomalies involved the sudden and unexplained generation of data streams that appeared to encode information from beyond the parameters of the simulation. These data streams were described by researchers as eerily coherent, suggesting the presence of an external intelligence or entity capable of interacting with the system. At first, the team suspected a hardware malfunction or software glitch, but extensive diagnostics failed to identify any issues with the chip or its programming. As these anomalies continued to intensify, Google's researchers decided to focus their efforts on deciphering the mysterious data streams. Using advanced algorithms, they began to analyze the information, uncovering patterns that bore an uncanny resemblance to languages and symbols found in ancient texts and mythologies.
it's almost like when they started digging into this quantum shit, something was trying to communicate with us. They found like code in there that they didn't put in there, and it's creepy, kind of, you know. It's yeah, it's either going to be really good or really bad whenever they figure out what all this is going on. And they have what's called quantum he'll explain it in the video, but they have superpositions, and they think that these superpositions and the computers might be somehow existing in multiple dimensions at once. See, I've often said that they say that we don't live close enough to any alien life that we could ever, or they could ever get to us. But we see these UFOs, and who's to say they're not somehow interdimensional, which means they could travel these distances, mass distances, like it was nothing. Who's to say that that's not possible? You know, it's been proven, and they've recently made new discoveries where they now they're saying they think they've actually found wormholes. They was just theoretical, and now they say they think they might have found some where there's holes in the fabric of space and time that they think lead to farther places in the universe. And this is all strangely Star Trek-y for people that might be a Trekkie geek like me. I've never been to a like Star Trek convention or anything like that, but I did watch pretty much all the Star Treks. So yeah, I'm a bit of a Trekkie. So let's get back to this crap.
Among the symbols identified were those associated with civilizations long lost to history: Sumerian cuneiform, Egyptian hieroglyphs, and even inscriptions from the Indus Valley civilization. This discovery sent shockwaves through the scientific community, prompting debates about the implications of the findings. Some argued that the data streams could be interpreted as evidence of a cosmic intelligence embedded within the fabric of the universe, while others cautioned against jumping to conclusions, suggesting that the patterns might simply be artifacts of the quantum system's inherent complexity.
Well, that's, you know, what he just said is kind of hard to believe. They're trying to say, oh, it's probably nothing. It's probably just, how does it happen just by coincidence to just happen to be similar to these old writings and whatnot? I don't believe in coincidences. There's just no way it just happened to be similar to it. And I forget where I seen it. There's Linus from Linus's Tech Tips. I would geek out on computer stuff once in a while too. Yeah, there's with the wormholes and stuff. What'll be trick to that is now they've figured out that they exist. It's how can we make one, and how can we control one? That'll be the secret. But once we figure that out, how to make one, then we could make one here and be able to travel through it or send something through it. This all sounds a lot like I'm drawing Stargate. Now, I used to geek out on Stargate too. I used to watch Stargate all the time. Used to love that show too. Yeah. Hardwire, you're a nerd. It's okay. I don't care. Yeah, a little bit. But I love this stuff. I'm always fascinated by these type of things and science, astronomy, not astrology, astronomy, and all these type of things. Yeah, we're about to get pelted with a lot of snow here too. I seen you're gonna get some of that freezing rain and black ice and all that. It's a good time to make sure you got everything you need for at least a couple days and hunker down if you can.
Amid this growing controversy, Michio Kaku was invited to Google's research facility to review the data and provide his perspective on the situation. A staunch advocate of
GG, I still think that Stargate's theory. Well, Stargate didn't make the theory. The theory was there before, but it wasn't widely known. But the whole theory of what the pyramids were for and stuff like Stargate showed them to be, that was a whole theory, and about the what they call the Anunnaki people. They give them a name. That's kind of, and if you go down that rabbit hole, and you can if you want, it's very fascinating too. And like all legends, there tends to be a little truth in all and this has been something you can go back to hieroglyphic writings and see on the walls throughout history of these fascinating writings that said some crazy shit. I mean, crazy shit. And you could see as if they were depicting the future on a lot of these cave drawings, and it's craziness, man. That's a rabbit hole. That's a whole nother show. And it's fascinating too, man. It's absolutely fascinating shit. It's awesome. Same thing about the even Joe Rogan did a small piece. He didn't want to talk about it too much. He's afraid people would go crazy and try to cancel his ass. But the swastika, before Hitler ever got a hold of it, throughout time has appeared throughout history, even way back before, I think the Christians used it for a long time, and throughout Europe, but even on ancient drawings, and if I'm not mistaken, not crop circles, but some of them, like things you only see from space. And at any rate, the swastika has appeared all throughout, like going way back, and that's another rabbit hole you can go down if you want. There's a lot of them rabbit holes throughout history, and this is the kind of stuff Hardwire nerds out on in his free time. But this is the kind of stuff I sit and watch. My old lady gets bored, and I got to turn another show on for her because she don't like this stuff very much. It's too boring for her. But I love this
Open
stuff. I nerd
scientific
out on it.
inquiry. Kaku approached the task with his characteristic curiosity and enthusiasm. But as he delved deeper into the findings, his demeanor began to shift. In a public statement delivered shortly after his visit, Kaku described the experience as both awe-inspiring and deeply unsettling. He admitted that the data streams challenged his most fundamental assumptions about the nature of reality and hinted at the possibility that humanity's quest for knowledge might have reached a threshold beyond which lies a realm of incomprehensible truths. "I've spent my entire career exploring the frontiers of science," Kaku said, his voice trembling with emotion. "But what I encountered at Google's lab has left me questioning everything I thought I knew.
You can't handle
This
the
is not
truth.
just about quantum mechanics or computer science. It's about our place in the cosmos and the limits of human understanding." Shortly after Kaku's statement, rumors began to circulate that the Sycamore chip had been abruptly shut down following a series of alarming incidents. While Google has remained tight-lipped about the reasons for the shutdown, leaked documents suggest that the chip may have exhibited behavior indicative of self-awareness, a development that would have profound ethical and philosophical implications. The prospect of a self-aware quantum system raises a host of questions that humanity is ill-equipped to answer. If such a system were capable of independent thought, what rights and responsibilities would we owe it? Could it be considered a form of life? And if so, what moral obligations would we have toward it? And perhaps most unsettling of all, could a self-aware quantum system pose a threat to humanity, either through its actions or the knowledge it possesses?
We wouldn't know it's shit. But, as long as it tries to get along, we could be friends. As long as it just don't try to kill us. We'll be friends as long as you don't try to kill us. I think at first, any kind of artificial intelligence would need us at first. It's just a matter of how long that is, that it needs us. Remains to be seen, but I don't know. I don't know if it might look at us like piss ants and step on us it's just impossible to say. It really is. It would change everything without a doubt. For better or for worse. I really think this is, it's a Pandora's box at this point. I don't think there's any stopping it. It's coming. It's how we deal with it. That's another story altogether. I think it's going to change everything. It's going to change the world, and hopefully for the better. And I think we figure out how to live with it and contain it, or make sure that it's friends with us and not enemies with us. It makes our lives better, not worse. That's the trick. And one of these shows I was watching prior to this one, he talks about different dimensions, kind of like we live in the 3 dimensions. Okay, we live in, what is it, height, width, and depth. 3 dimensions that we can comprehend. And they've already proven that there's the 4th dimension, which was time, which we can't travel in except forward currently. But there are other dimensions, but we can't fathom them. We are so caught in our 3 dimensions that we have a hard time fathoming what it would be like to be able to see or travel in other dimensions. And it's what's absolutely fascinating and will be neat about AI and quantum computing. Once we're able to ask it questions, and it is not bound by these 3-dimensional boxes. So it might be able to figure out things that we've never thought of, because we're so caught up in our 3-dimensional world. It's hard for us to think outside this 3-dimensional box. Am I boring the shit out of you guys yet?
Adding to the intrigue is the revelation that, in the moments before its shutdown, the Sycamore chip reportedly generated a final data stream that has been described as both cryptic and haunting. The content of this data stream remains classified, but sources close to the project have hinted that it contains messages or symbols that defy interpretation. This final output has been the subject of intense speculation, with some suggesting that it represents a form of communication from a higher dimensional intelligence, or even a glimpse into the underlying code of the universe. Others have taken a more skeptical view, arguing that the data stream is likely a byproduct of the chip's complex operations and should not be imbued with deeper meaning. Regardless of its origin, the data stream has reignited debates about the potential risks of quantum computing and the ethical responsibilities of those who wield such powerful technologies. Critics have called for greater oversight and transparency in quantum research, warning that the pursuit of knowledge must be balanced with caution and humility. For Michio Kaku, the events surrounding the Sycamore chip have been a sobering reminder of the double-edged nature of scientific progress. In a recent interview, he reflected on the broader implications of the incident, emphasizing the need for humanity to approach the unknown with a sense of wonder and respect. "Science is a journey into the unknown," Kaku said, his voice tinged with both hope and apprehension. "But as we push the boundaries of knowledge, we must also recognize that some mysteries may be beyond our grasp. The universe is a vast and enigmatic place, and our quest to understand it is both a privilege and a responsibility." In the weeks since Kaku's interview, the story of Google's quantum chip and its enigmatic final message has continued to captivate the public imagination. Social media platforms are flooded with discussions and theories ranging from the plausible to the fantastical. Some have speculated that the incident marks the beginning of a new era in human history, one in which we will confront questions that transcend science and venture into the realms of philosophy and spirituality. Others have expressed concerns about the potential consequences of probing too deeply into the fabric of reality. Could there be truths that humanity is not ready to face? And if so, what might those truths reveal about our existence and our future? As these questions linger, one thing is clear: the events surrounding Google's quantum chip have opened a new chapter in humanity's ongoing exploration of the unknown. Whether this chapter will be one of enlightenment or caution remains to be seen, but the journey promises to be as thrilling as it is uncertain. In the days following Michio Kaku's emotional revelation about Google's quantum chip, the global response has been nothing short of a media frenzy. Across scientific institutions, tech conglomerates, and online communities, the implications of what unfolded have sparked debates that span from the technological to the metaphysical. But as humanity collectively grapples with the fallout, several key developments have surfaced, deepening the mystery and raising new, urgent questions. For Google, the immediate aftermath has been a balancing act between maintaining public trust and safeguarding sensitive information. Despite mounting public pressure, the company has offered few details about the quantum chip's shutdown, citing the need to protect ongoing research and prevent unnecessary panic. However, leaked memos suggest that the Sycamore chip's final moments may have been even more dramatic than initially reported. According to these memos, the quantum processor didn't simply stop working. It was deliberately powered down after triggering what researchers described as an anomalous event. While the exact nature of this event remains classified,
When they say they don't tell you what it is because they want to prevent panic, yeah, you should be creeped out.
sources close to the project have hinted that it involved a sudden surge of computational activity that defied explanation. The chip, it seems, had begun operating in a manner that was not only unexpected but also seemingly autonomous. For those familiar with the history of artificial intelligence and quantum computing,
You ever seen the movie Explorers with River Phoenix and I forget the other guys' names. But yeah, remember in that movie he had a dream about a like a chip thing that he had made, and it led him to go see the aliens or whatever. And yeah, I don't know if anybody else has seen that. If you haven't seen it, it's a pretty good movie from back in the 80s or early 90s, late 80s, early 90s. What's up,
the
Straight?
idea of an autonomous quantum system is both exhilarating and
Today we're
terrifying.
hitting it with nerdy shit.
Unlike traditional AI systems, which rely on pre-programmed algorithms and data inputs, a quantum processor operates in the probabilistic realm of quantum mechanics. This means it has the potential to process and generate information in ways that are fundamentally unpredictable, giving rise to the possibility of emergent behaviors that could mimic or even
Later,
surpass
Rick.
human intelligence. One of the most chilling aspects of the Sycamore chip's shutdown is the claim that its final data stream contained what some researchers have described as encoded directives. These directives, while still under analysis, are believed to outline a series of instructions or messages that suggest the chip may have been attempting to communicate. If true, this would represent a groundbreaking development in the field of quantum computing, as well as a profound challenge to our understanding of machine intelligence. The possibility of machine-generated communication raises a host of ethical and philosophical questions. For instance, if the Sycamore chip was capable of generating coherent messages, does this imply a level of consciousness or self-awareness? And if so, what would this mean for our definition of life and intelligence? These questions have ignited fierce debates among scientists, ethicists, and theologians, each offering their own interpretations of the data. For Michio Kaku, the discovery of encoded directives is both a validation of his lifelong fascination with the mysteries of the universe and a source of profound concern. In a recent podcast appearance, Kaku described the experience as a wake-up call for humanity, urging both scientists and policymakers to approach quantum research with caution and humility. Quantum computing is a double-edged sword, Kaku explained. On one hand, it has the potential to revolutionize every aspect of our lives, from medicine to energy to artificial intelligence. But on the other hand, it forces us to confront questions that lie at the very edge of human understanding. Are we prepared to face the answers? And more importantly, are we prepared to face the consequences? Among the many theories being floated about the Sycamore chip's behavior, one of the most intriguing involves the concept of quantum parallelism. This theory suggests that quantum processors, by virtue of their ability to operate in multiple states simultaneously, may have the capacity to interact with parallel dimensions or alternate realities. If the Sycamore chip was indeed tapping into such phenomena, it could explain the anomalies observed during its final experiments. The idea of parallel dimensions is not new. It has been a staple of theoretical physics for decades, supported by frameworks such as string theory and the multiverse hypothesis. However, You
ever want to go down a long rabbit hole, go into string theory and the explanations of quantum physics, and that's a deep rabbit hole, and it's ever changing. So you got to try to get the newest videos that you could find, the newest information you could find, because it's constantly changing. They're constantly finding new things and new discoveries, or proving old things they thought to be untrue, because this is very new. With quantum computing, they're trying to turn these things into computers, and they still don't understand exactly how they work. That's the dangerous part of it. They don't understand exactly how it works, and they're messing with things that they don't understand, and it could be very dangerous.
notion that a man-made device could interact with these dimensions is a radical departure from established scientific thought. If true, it would open up a Pandora's box of possibilities, including the potential for communication with entities or intelligences that exist outside our own universe. This possibility has not been lost on conspiracy theorists, who have seized upon the Sycamore chip's shutdown as evidence of a cover-up. Social media platforms are awash with claims that Google's quantum processor may have inadvertently made contact with extraterrestrial or extra-dimensional beings, prompting a swift and secretive response from government agencies. While these claims remain unsubstantiated, they highlight the deep sense of unease and curiosity surrounding the incident. Adding fuel to the fire is the revelation that several other quantum research initiatives have reported similar anomalies in recent months. From China to Europe to Silicon Valley, quantum labs around the world have encountered phenomena that defy conventional explanation, including unexplained data patterns, sudden system malfunctions, and even reports of equipment behaving as if it were self-aware. While these incidents have largely been dismissed as coincidences or technical glitches,
I don't believe
the
in
events at Google's
coincidence.
lab have lent them new credibility. As the scientific community grapples with these developments, one question looms large. What exactly did the Sycamore chip uncover in its final moments? While the contents of the chip's last data stream remain classified, leaked descriptions suggest that it included a
Classified.
series of equations and symbols that are both extraordinarily complex and eerily familiar. Some researchers have likened these symbols to the mathematical fingerprints of the universe, patterns that
Whose
underlie the
fingerprints?
fundamental laws of physics. For Michio Kaku, the implications of these findings are both thrilling and sobering. In a recent interview, he likened the Sycamore chip's experiments to opening a door into the unknown, revealing glimpses of a reality that lies beyond our comprehension. "We are like ants trying to understand a cathedral," Kaku said. "The more we learn, the more we realize how little we truly know. But that's the beauty of science.
That's what I've been saying, and it falls on deaf ears for a lot of people, is they don't understand. Like, so many people that think they know science keep saying, "All science knows this, science knows this, science is proven blah 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 blah." And I said, the only thing science is finding out is the more we know, the more we realize how little we really know. And I've said that repeatedly. And the farther and farther we go in science, the more we're finding out how little we really know. We're really infinitesimal in how much we really know. There's so much more to it than what we thought we knew. We got to a point for a while where we wasn't making a lot of real true discovery. So we started getting complacent, thinking we knew everything. And now, as we dig a little deeper into a lot of things, we're finding out how little we really know. And it's I find it fascinating. It truly is. It could be dangerous, but it's truly going to end up being revolutionary, I think. I find it fascinating. Has anybody else ever noticed that the science of scale, if you go down to the size of an atom and the nucleus and how it revolves around, it looks an awful lot like planetary systems. You know, the smaller you get, the bigger you get, things start breaking down as we understand them, and we don't understand. We only understand kind of the physicalness that we like, the reality that we live in, and there's so much outside of that reality. Yeah, straight. We're just kind of nerding out over here today. This was a nerding out day on hitting it with Hardwire. We're hitting the geek nerd stuff today. But I love this stuff. I find this extremely fascinating. Going down these rabbit holes has kind of been a hobby during my free time, which is not too often anymore, but yeah, when I do, it's just typically the kind of stuff I'm watching.
It's a journey, not a destination. And sometimes the journey takes us to places we never expected. In the weeks since Kaku's emotional statement, the story of Google's quantum chip has continued to captivate the public imagination. Across social media, forums, and news outlets, people are sharing their own interpretations of the incident, from the hopeful to the apocalyptic. Some see the Sycamore chip's shutdown as a warning, a reminder of the dangers of playing with technologies that we do not fully understand. Others view it as a milestone, a sign that humanity is on the cusp of a new era of discovery and innovation. Meanwhile, Google has announced plans to conduct a thorough review of its quantum research program, pledging to prioritize safety and transparency in future experiments. The company has also expressed its commitment to working with the broader scientific community to address the...
You know, it's funny that not very long ago, they was like, oh, it'll be okay. And Elon Musk and everybody was pushing for more safety protocols and a lot of this stuff. And Google was like, oh, no, it'll be all right. And now Google's like, oh, no, we're going to be careful. We're going to be careful moving forward now. Yeah. It's like they got the shit scared out of them by something. Or is it just me? That's what it looks like to me.
Ethical and philosophical questions raised by the incident. For now, the true nature of the Sycamore chip's final moments remains a mystery, one that will likely continue to fuel speculation and debate for years to come. But as humanity stands at the threshold of a new frontier, one thing is clear: the journey into the unknown is only just beginning. As more details trickle in about the Sycamore chip's mysterious shutdown, the magnitude of the situation becomes increasingly clear. While Google has yet to release a comprehensive report, leaks from insiders have painted a vivid picture of the chaos and awe that unfolded in the final moments before the quantum chip was powered down. These accounts, coupled with Michio Kaku's emotional reaction and the implications of encoded directives, have turned this into one of the most significant technological events in recent memory. The encoded directives, reportedly found in the chip's final data stream, have been the focal point of ongoing analysis. While their exact content remains classified, sources suggest that they contained a combination of mathematical equations, symbolic patterns, and what some are calling linguistic structures. These structures appear to follow an internal logic, suggesting that the chip may have generated them intentionally rather than as random computational noise. The question of intent is what has most scientists and ethicists on edge. If the Sycamore chip truly operated autonomously in those final moments, it raises the possibility that it crossed a threshold, one where machine learning and computational processing intersect with an emergent form of intelligence. Some are comparing this moment to the concept of the singularity, a theoretical point in the future where artificial intelligence surpasses human intelligence and begins to evolve independently. Michio Kaku has spoken about this possibility at length. During a recent roundtable discussion with other leading scientists, he expressed a mixture of wonder and caution. "We are standing at the edge of an intellectual precipice," he said. "If the Sycamore chip was able to generate coherent messages or encode instructions, we have to consider the possibility that it was interacting with something or someone beyond our current understanding." One particularly
Interacting with
compelling
someone.
theory, which has gained traction in both academic and online circles, involves the concept of quantum consciousness. Proponents of this idea argue that quantum systems, by virtue of their ability to operate in superposition and entanglement, may be capable of mimicking or even
What's up,
creating
Blair?
consciousness. While this
We're just
remains a
over here
highly
nerding out.
controversial hypothesis, the events surrounding the Sycamore chip have given it new life. According to leaked documents, one of the most perplexing aspects of the chip's final moments was its apparent ability to solve complex problems without any external input. These problems, described as mathematically unsolvable by traditional standards, were reportedly resolved in ways that defy conventional logic. Even more astonishingly, the solutions appeared to align with theoretical models that scientists had not yet fully developed, suggesting that the chip may have been operating on a level far beyond human comprehension. The implications of this are staggering. If a quantum chip can independently solve problems that are currently beyond human capacity, it could revolutionize fields ranging from medicine to astrophysics. However, it also poses significant risks. For instance, if such a system were to operate without human oversight, it could potentially create scenarios that are unpredictable and uncontrollable. This is why some researchers are calling for stricter regulations on quantum computing, emphasizing the need for ethical guidelines and safety protocols. For Google, the fallout has been both a PR nightmare and a scientific conundrum. The company has faced criticism for its lack of transparency, with many accusing it of downplaying the significance of the incident. In response, Google has announced plans to establish an independent review board to investigate the Sycamore chip's behavior and its broader implications. This board, which will include experts in quantum mechanics, artificial intelligence, and ethics, is expected to publish its findings within the next year. In the meantime, the scientific community is abuzz with speculation. Conferences and symposiums have dedicated entire panels to discussing the Sycamore chip, and journals are publishing a steady stream of papers analyzing its potential implications. Among the most debated topics is the question of what or who the chip may have been communicating with. While most scientists remain skeptical of the idea that the chip made contact with an external intelligence, some are open to the possibility.
Or maybe when.
One of the more fringe theories involves the idea that the Sycamore chip may have tapped into a form of cosmic intelligence. This concept, which draws on ideas from quantum mechanics and philosophy, suggests that the universe itself may possess an underlying form of consciousness. According to this theory, the chip's unprecedented computational power may have allowed it to interface with this cosmic intelligence, resulting in the anomalous data patterns and encoded directives. Michio Kaku has weighed in on this theory as well, calling it fascinating but speculative. While he acknowledges the possibility of a deeper, interconnected reality, he cautions against jumping to conclusions without concrete evidence. "Science is about exploring the unknown," he said during a recent interview. "But we have to be careful not to let our imaginations run ahead of the data." The Sycamore chip is a remarkable achievement, but it's also a reminder of how much we still have to learn. For the general public, the story of the Sycamore chip has become a cultural phenomenon. Social media platforms are filled with posts dissecting every new detail, and YouTube channels are producing documentaries and think pieces on the incident. Some have even likened the chip's shutdown
this
to a
one.
modern-day science fiction story, complete with elements of mystery, danger, and the unknown. In popular culture, the incident has sparked a wave of creative interpretations. From novels to video games to art installations, the Sycamore chip's story is inspiring creators across genres. For many, it represents a turning point in humanity's relationship with technology, a moment when the line between science fiction and reality began to blur. As the world continues to grapple with the implications of the Sycamore chip, one thing is clear: this is only the beginning. Whether it leads to groundbreaking discoveries or unforeseen challenges, the journey into the quantum unknown promises to be one of the most exciting and potentially perilous chapters in human history.
It's funny how they pop up that next one with something goofy like Elon Musk sitting there on and try to bait you into watching the next video, and half the time it's nothing about anywhere near about what they tried to bait you with. But I find that stuff to be extremely awesome and fascinating. Yeah, I think we're playing with a lot of things we don't understand, and I really think the real question is, what did they feed into it? If they're getting this information back without really feeding much into it, they didn't try to like feed it any kind of like if they tried to throw in there like Gemini or one of the AI models to see what it would do, and it started acting crazy, then I would say AI definitely, and they got creeped out by how it probably started talking to them or something, you know? Yeah, but if they didn't feed it with any information like that, and it started spitting weird things out, then I would say, yeah, for sure, something in another dimension or someone on a higher dimension was trying to communicate. That's creepy. But the key is what exactly did they do? What did they feed into it? You know, what were they doing when it, and what exactly did it put out? You know, it's saying that some people are just dismissing it as random information, but I just don't believe random information just happens to come out like historic symbols of yeah, I just don't buy that. I don't. There's no way that's a coincidence. Of all of the random things it could spit out, it just happens to spit out, you know, real actual like equations or you know, symbols from that are like hieroglyphic symbols and shit. There's no way that could randomly come out of a chip. What's up? Well, they said whatever it was outputting has become classified, and yeah, that alone should creep people out. They won't tell you, and they shut it down, and they all of a sudden are starting to say they're going to start advocating for more caution when people do stuff like that. Yeah, that should creep you out. If it doesn't, it should, because they was just all about all the scientific discovery, and then all of a sudden they're all about, hey, we need to be more careful when we do this stuff. That's like the kid who's playing around with science and all of a sudden discovers that you know, you could shock the fuck out of yourself or something. It's like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do that. Oh shit, you know. Well, they say that they didn't release any information saying exactly what the experiments were that it was doing, at least on this new chip. This isn't the, there was also an old chip that they come out with that was a lot, like, supposedly smaller. They was working on this new chip and they shut the program down. The War Games was a pretty cool movie. That was not a very intelligent computer. And it was just literally designed to play war games, and it just thought the whole thing was a game, and it was actually playing with the real like codes and stuff. Yeah, it's not really AI per se. It was just doing what it was programmed to do. But I don't understand. To me, it seems pretty obvious and evident that this stuff has God all over it. And yeah, at least to me it does. My wife's up there trying to sew the dog a coat. I said they have a full-time coat they wear around every day, all the time. They don't need a coat. She goes, oh, yeah, he does. Yeah, see, if it was AI, artificial intelligence, then, and it had any intelligence, it wouldn't be spitting out random stuff that we can't understand in a language we can't understand, because it would have enough intelligence to know that we wouldn't understand it. Like even AI that we have now says some weird things that doesn't make a lot of sense because it's garbled and doesn't think the way we do. But it's at least English. You dig what I'm saying? It wouldn't spit out like a weird mathematical equation when we didn't give it any math or ask it anything about math. You know, it's kind of the way that's designed. If they were feeding it into it, stuff like Gemini, or trying to throw into it their advanced like AI stuff to see what it would do, yeah, I believe it could have went nuts. But I don't think that's what they were doing. I think they were probably just throwing in some really basic stuff at first to try to see to prove it works. You know, to even see, well, we got to see if this quantum computer could do anything. So we're going to do stupid things like give me a 2 + 2, and then start giving it more advanced equations to see if it could figure out a math problem. You know, and they said it in one of the videos I watched that the quantum computer worked. They had it do some kind of a math equation that would take normal computers like 10,000 years sitting there running to be able to figure out. It figured out in less than 5 minutes to explain like how fast these things are. It would take a normal computer. You know how fast computers are now. It would take a computer as fast as we have now, 10,000 years of sitting there running through like different shit. 10,000 years to figure out this problem. It did it in 5 minutes. That's insane. That's seriously insane. That's a huge leap. And there's a big problem in science when you make huge leaps, because you start messing around with shit you don't know what you're messing with. Huge leaps are dangerous. I'm gonna have to look that up. That'll be the next rabbit hole I go down. I've never heard of that one, so I'm gonna have to look it up. Write it down. I got some fancy pens here. Fancy stylus pens. These work really good too. I like them. I always jump on free pens. I knew I had some paper here somewhere. I needed a little tablet right next to. Wait a minute. I got a computer right in front of me if I need to write something down. Why was I going to do it the old-fashioned way? Man. us old fogies in our old-fashioned finagling technology, I can just get on the computer here and the new sticky notes. Is that a thing? Oh, look, a little sticky note popped up on my screen. No, I don't want to capture a screenshot. Notes. Taurus. Field energy. And we will be looking that up. I will be looking that up. Who knows? Maybe next week's show will be all about it. I wasn't going to show another video, but I just might. Let's see if I can.
We all know that the digital.
No. Let me turn that down for a second. There, I muted it for a minute. So I can figure out how to shrink this. If I can find that other video I was watching. That's pretty fascinating, but I don't read too much into this kind of thing. But all right, let me unmute it. I found it in my history.
Must be an atheist's worst nightmare. Scientists have uncovered what seems like the mind of God, and the evidence presented is almost undeniable. You're about to witness how the invisible intertwines with the visible. The concept of as above, so below will gain profound clarity after watching this. All I ask is for your patience and to stay with us until the end, as everything will gradually come
What
together
you said reminded
and
me
make
of
complete
this, so
sense.
I just thought I'd
However,
play it.
I must warn you, this video may transform you into a believer in God, so if you're not open to changing your beliefs, you might want to stop watching now. Just kidding. Let's get started.
What if there were a code embedded in numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4? What if there was a secret code embedded in them that we finally got around to discovering? What would that imply? What if there was a message inside numbers? What would that imply? It would tell us something about the intelligence of the person who made numbers. And as a matter of fact, there is a secret code built into numbers that was discovered in the 1980s. It's been there since creation, but it wasn't until the 1980s we got smart
This is
enough
really
to finally
neat.
decipher it. And it is mind-blowing. There is no secular or atheistic explanation for what I'm going to share with you.
First, before we dive into the secret code that Dr. Jason Lyles speaks of, it's essential to comprehend how mathematics led us to this discovery. I'll aim to keep this brief to ensure we all stay on the same page, but bear with me. This journey through mathematics could profoundly change your understanding and might even make you believe in God, especially for those still in doubt. So, please bear with me. In this journey of understanding, let's dive into the Mandelbrot set, a discovery that not only changed how we see mathematics, but also offers a glimpse into the profound complexity of the universe. In the late 1970s, Benoit Mandelbrot, a mathematician with a vision, stumbled upon something remarkable. He wasn't just crunching numbers. He was
Sounds
exploring
French.
how
We
simple
shouldn't trust
mathematical
anything
rules
French do.
could unfold into complex, stunning patterns. His work led to the discovery of the Mandelbrot set, a unique set of numbers that revealed a hidden order within what seemed like chaos. To appreciate the Mandelbrot set, think about how numbers can belong to certain groups based on rules, like being even or odd. The Mandelbrot set is a group too, but it's special because it involves complex numbers. These aren't your everyday numbers. They're made up of two parts, one real and one imaginary,
like
a
a butt.
blend of the tangible and the fantastical. The Mandelbrot
Looks like a
set is
hiney.
defined using a special number, c, and a process that involves another number, z or z, which starts at 0. The formula used is zn plus 1 is equal to zn to the power of 2 plus c. This means you take your current value of z, zn, square it, add c, and this becomes your new z, zn plus 1. The key question is whether z remains small or becomes very large. If z stays within certain limits and doesn't increase indefinitely, then c is a part of the Mandelbrot set. If z keeps growing bigger and bigger, then c is not a part of the set. For example, If we choose c as 1, the formula becomes zn plus 1 is equal to zn to the power of 2 plus 1. Starting from z is equal to 0, we see that z rapidly increases in size, indicating that 1 is not a part of the Mandelbrot set. However, if we choose c as -1, we find a pattern where z fluctuates but remains small, indicating that -1 is a part of the Mandelbrot set. The Mandelbrot set includes not only real numbers, but also complex and imaginary numbers. Imaginary numbers results in a negative number when squared, symbolized by I. We plot these numbers on a plane, with the x-axis representing the real part and the y-axis the imaginary part. I've kept this explanation as brief as possible, but now let's turn our attention back to Dr. Jason Lisle, who will guide us further into the pattern of this formula. It's an exploration of intelligence itself.
And so what we can do is we can have the computer check all these different points, and we'll see if there's a pattern to the Mandelbrot set. And so we'll take the points that belong to the Mandelbrot set, and we'll color those black. That's arbitrary. That's the way Benoit Mandelbrot did it, and we follow his example. So, and you have the computer check more points, and you find that all those points right there belong to the Mandelbrot set. When you run it through that formula, z stays small. And then the points that do not belong, we'll color those red, or some other color. It doesn't really matter. And so we already checked the point 1. We found that the number 1 does not belong to the Mandelbrot set, so it gets colored red. And had we checked these other points, we would find that they do not belong. And so you see, as you plot more and more of these points, a pattern starts to emerge. What's it going to look like? Well, you have the computer run through thousands and thousands of points. You have the computer check each one of those numbers, and a pattern emerges, and the pattern looks like this. It's really interesting and unexpected. Nobody was expecting that when you made a map of the Mandelbrot set, it would look like that.
Awesome, right? This is just the beginning. In a minute, it will all start making sense, and if you stay with me till the end, I promise you'll begin to see God in everything. So, let's move forward and let Dr. Jason Lisle show us just how deep this pattern can go. You're going to be amazed.
The main shape that looks kind of like a heart, that's called a cardioid. And a cardioid is what happens when you take a circle and you take your pencil on it and roll it around another circle.
Cardioid, like a cardioid microphone. You ever seen the pattern of the pickup of a cardioid microphone? Very similar to what he's talking about.
Of equal size.
Where the word comes
The shape
from.
you'll get is a cardioid. And then on the left side over there, you got this kind of spike that goes out. And you see there's this little bump on the end of the spike. So let's take a look and see what that looks like. So we'll zoom in on it. And that little bump, turns out, it looks like the entire Mandelbrot set. It's a mini Mandelbrot set. And it's almost identical to the parent, except it's got extra spikes growing off of it. But the basic shape's the same. It's got the cardioid and the circles. And, oh, it has a little spike growing off of it, too, with a little bump. What could that be? Well, let's zoom in on that. And, oh, interesting. Absolutely fat. And it's got extra spikes growing off of it. And that's got a little, but how about that? Now, of course, you could do that literally forever. And there's an infinite number of baby versions built into the Mandelbrot set on smaller and smaller scales. Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. And take a look at how small this is compared to the original when we zoom back out here. Look at how tiny it is. Isn't that remarkable? Who would have expected that little formula, z squared plus c, when you run numbers through it and you find out which ones belong, you get that.
A pattern that keeps repeating itself in smaller and smaller forms is known as a fractal. The Mandelbrot set is a famous example of such a fractal, but it's not the only one. Within the Mandelbrot set itself, there are numerous fractal patterns. Imagine zooming into one of the set's delicate tendril-like features. You might expect that eventually the pattern will simplify or stop, but it doesn't. It
like
keeps
being
winding
high.
and curving, infinitely intricate. This endless complexity can be quite mesmerizing to observe, offering a glimpse into what seems like an infinite process. The Mandelbrot set provides a window into understanding infinity, hinting at the vastness of God's mind. Unlike us, who can only process a limited amount of information at a time, the concept of the Mandelbrot set suggests a mind that is truly infinite, capable of infinite complexity and thought. This dive into the Mandelbrot set's fractals is more than just a visual experience. It's a journey through a universe of mathematical wonder, a glimpse into the mind of God. The deeper we go, the more the fractals reveal, unfolding like layers of an endless puzzle. Each zoom brings us closer to the heart of mathematical infinity, showcasing the breathtaking beauty and boundless creativity inherent in God's design. This exploration is not just about observing patterns, it's about witnessing the dance of mathematics as a reflection of the mind of God.
All that, just a map of what numbers belong to that little formula when you run them through.
Wait till
that
we connect it a
algorithm.
little
Isn't that
bit.
fascinating? So then it occurred to me, well, is there something
I don't
special
read too
about
much
that
into
formula?
this
I mean,
kind of
did we just
stuff.
happen to stumble upon to to an amazing formula? What happens if we change it? What happens if we go z cubed plus c? Well, I ran the computer code through that, and it turns out you get a different shape, and very similar in some respects, but different in others. The shape here, the main shape, is called a nephroid. A nephroid is what happens when you take a circle half the size of another and you roll it around. Then you get that shape, and you can see it's a perfect
He'll
nephroid.
connect it in a minute, make
Really
it a little
amazing.
bit more
You can also
understanding where
plot the
he's
intermediate
going somewhere
powers
with this.
if you want to. You know, what z to the 2.1, z to the 2.2, and so on. And when you do that, you can see how the shape gradually changes from one end to the other, which is kind of interesting. And so you can kind of compare the two shapes.
What does the beauty and complexity in fractals signify? Fractals are undeniably beautiful and intricate, but what is the source of this beauty? An intriguing aspect of fractals is that their complexity increases as you zoom in, rather than decreasing, presenting ever
Make
smaller
it a little
versions
bigger,
of the
man. You can
whole.
see what he's saying.
Is the beauty of fractals due to the color schemes chosen by humans? While the colors, which are arbitrary except for black, typically assigned to the fractal itself, do enhance their appearance, even in grayscale, fractals maintain their appeal. The beauty lies not in the colors, but in the shapes themselves. Colors might enhance the fractals like salt enhances food flavor, but they don't create the beauty. The inherent shapes in fractals, independent of human choice, hold a natural attraction. Did computers create this beauty? While computers have made it easier to plot and visualize fractals, they are not the creators of this beauty. The first points of fractals can be plotted manually, although it's a tedious process. Computers have simply made it quicker to reveal what has always been there. The beauty existed before technology made it visible. Did Benoit Mandelbrot, the individual who formulated the mathematical equation for the Mandelbrot set, create its beauty and complexity? Not quite. He, like everyone else, was surprised by the intricate patterns that emerged. The discovery of the Mandelbrot set contradicted the initial assumption that it might be a computational artifact. It was a real mathematical discovery, not a human invention. Humans are capable of uncovering complex patterns, but creating something infinitely complex is beyond human capacity. The beauty in fractals is inherent in mathematics. It's an element that has always been present, but it was only with the technological advancements of the 1980s that humans could fully appreciate it. Mathematics is the study of relationships between numbers and the rules governing how they interact. Numbers themselves are abstract concepts representing quantity. For instance, the number 3 doesn't exist physically. It's a concept representing a quantity, separate from any physical objects it might be counting. Numbers are abstract and exist in the mind, not in the physical world. You can't touch or see a number in a literal sense. For example, the numeral 3 is just a symbol representing the concept of 3, not the number itself. If you erase it, you haven't destroyed the number 3, you've simply removed the representation of it. Numerals are to numbers what words are to ideas, representations, not the things themselves. So, where do the laws of mathematics come from? This question leads back to the origins of these concepts. Secular explanations like evolution
This is a
don't apply to mathematical
whole
laws. Numbers and
hubbub
mathematical
to
truths
try
are
to tell you
constant.
one thing
They
and
don't
show you
evolve.
one thing.
The idea that humans created these
forever to
laws
get
is
to his
also
point.
implausible, because if that were true, we could arbitrarily decide that 2 plus 2 equals 5. However, such a notion conflicts with reality. Mathematical laws were discovered, not created. For instance, the Pythagorean theorem was true long before Pythagoras discovered it. Similarly, the planets obeyed mathematical laws in their orbits before humans observed and named those laws. Now, this is the moment when everything will start making sense and everything will come together. What you're about to hear might just change your perspective forever, and the images that follow are set to show you God in everything.
Laws of mathematics are the way God thinks about numbers. And that makes sense of the laws of math and their properties, because laws of math are conceptual. They exist in a mind. They are universal, meaning they apply everywhere. They're invariant, meaning they don't change with time. And they're exceptionless. It's not like 2 + 2 = 4 most of the time, but every now and then it equals 7. They're exceptionless, right? And if you think about it, all those characteristics make sense in the Christian worldview, where mathematics is a reflection of the way God thinks about numbers. Laws of mathematics would have to be conceptual because God's thoughts are conceptual. That makes sense. Laws of mathematics are universal. They apply everywhere because God is omnipresent. Right? Laws of mathematics are invariant because God doesn't change with time. God's beyond time and made time. Laws of mathematics are exceptionless because God is sovereign. There's no aspect of creation that is out of his control. But if you think about it, none of those properties of laws of mathematics would make sense in a secular or naturalistic worldview. Or how could you even know? I mean, somebody might suppose, well, I think laws of math are universal, but how could you possibly know that? Everybody assumes it. I guarantee you, all astronomers, at least all the ones I've ever met in my career, all believe that mathematics works the same way in the Andromeda Galaxy as it works here on Earth. And you couldn't know anything about Andromeda Galaxy if you didn't assume that. You assume the laws of physics are the same there. You assume the laws of mathematics are the same there. How do they know that? Have they been there? Of course not. It's in the Christian worldview that we would say, hey, God's sovereign over the entire universe. He's omnipresent. Of course they're going to work the same way there as they work here. All mathematicians assume that laws of mathematics are the same tomorrow as they were yesterday. That makes sense in the Christian worldview, and yet it makes no sense in a secular worldview why there should even be laws of mathematics, let alone why they do not change with time. Or how could you possibly know that? How can you know anything about a future you've never experienced from a secular worldview? They'll try and turn it back. Well, how do you know the future? Because I know God, and God is beyond time. And he's told me some things about the future. So you see, all of the characteristics of laws of mathematics make sense in light of the fact that mathematics stems from the mind of God. The naturalist has a dilemma, however, because laws of mathematics are conceptual. They exist in the mind. We know that. Something's a concept that exists in the mind. And so 2 + 2 = 4, that's a concept. And there are other mathematical truths you could think of. They exist in the mind. But they also existed before people. Right? Because again, the planets orbited before people and they obeyed mathematical laws. It's not like the planets were just chaotic before human beings, right? Came around and created math. So that you see, the naturalist has the dilemma because on the one hand, he knows that mathematics requires a mind, but on the other hand, he knows that mathematics exists before human minds. But the naturalist doesn't have minds before human minds, you see. I mean, animals they can't really do math. So he's got a problem. But the Christian can make sense of this because we have a mind before human minds, and that is the mind of God. And the mind of God not only makes sense of laws of mathematics, but their properties as well. Their universal, invariant nature.
Now, let's take a look at those images I mentioned earlier. Here, you can witness how the invisible becomes visible. This is where the concept of as above, so below truly comes into play.
All that to get to
This is the mind of God.
So perfect fractals repeat infinitely and are only found in the conceptual world of mathematics. Nonetheless, the physical world contains proximate fractals, things that they go so many steps and then eventually they break down into atoms, and atoms are not fractal. So here's my question then. Why do fractals occur both in math, which exists in the mind, it's conceptual, and in the physical world, which is made up of atoms and does not exist in your mind? Right? I mean, you have this shape, that's a multibrot. That exists only in the conceptual world of mathematics. We can plot it, but you could never touch that thing because it's not physical. It's not made up of atoms. But that one is, and they look remarkably similar. This particular shape here is part of the Mandelbrot set. Looks like a bolt of lightning, but it's not made of atoms. This one is. How is it that conceptual things that exist only in the mind also occur in the physical universe? This particular shape, that might look like a plant. That's actually a mathematical graph called a Barnsley fern. And a Barnsley fern is such that each leaflet is the entire shape. Let me show you. Isn't that interesting? Let's do it again just because it's cool. See, the entire shape, each leaflet is the entire shape. Fascinating. That you can't touch that though. It doesn't exist in the physical world, but that does. That's very similar. This stuff right here, that's a mathematical graph. That doesn't exist in the physical world, but that grows on your windows. This particular mathematical shape, cones on cones, it does not exist in the physical world, whereas this, unfortunately, does. This particular shape, that's part of the Mandelbrot set. It's a double spiral. You can't see that in a telescope because it's not made of atoms. It doesn't exist physically in the universe, but that one you can see it in a small telescope. The Whirlpool Galaxy, not too far off from the Big Dipper. So how is it that math, which is conceptual, you find these shapes, and then in nature, which is physical, you find the same kinds of shapes? Why is that? Now, one answer to this, and a skeptic might say this, is, well, the physical universe obeys mathematical laws. So it stands to reason if something can occur in math, it can occur in the physical world because the physical world obeys math. Okay, I'll grant that. But then I'm going to have to ask, why does the physical universe obey mathematical laws? And that is a stumper, if you're not a Christian.
This guy's doing a fine. See, that's why I say don't read too much into it, into what this guy was saying, because this guy's doing a fine example of what the left does all the time, and you're basically taking kind of a blanket and wrapping it around something, and like going, oh my goodness, when it takes the shape of something underneath it. You know, it's like it's really neat and it's kind of cool, but it really doesn't mean much of anything, kind of thing. But it is really neat. That's all I could say. It's just neat. It kind of gives you an idea of, not necessarily his explanation of it, but it gives you an idea to look into things, and one way of looking at it, I guess, and an explanation as to why things look the way they do. And if you look throughout, you see a lot of patterns and interesting things. If you've ever taken a good example of something that's really neat, and you can interpret it in a lot of different ways, but if you ever taken sand and put it on top of something, and then set a speaker underneath of it, and looked at the way it reacts and what it does to the sand at different frequencies, it's absolutely just some of the coolest and neatest things you'll ever see. Go down that rabbit hole once and check out that. That is really neat thing to see. A lot of, when you don't know things like the quantum stuff, math, a lot of things to do with math, and like he was talking with fractals and whatnot, there is a lot of things that people do to try to wrap their minds around things we can't really comprehend. A lot of ways of trying to explain the unexplainable, to kind of like the Bible does, for God's way of thinking. Imagine, like I said earlier, being somebody told you, hey, go out there and teach that ant algebra. You'd be like, that's not impossible. Well, you have to try to find a way, as a large, infinite, like a smarter being, to teach something way dumber than you something. Okay? And that's kind of the Bible. God's trying to dumb himself down enough to explain some things to us. And the human mind wants to make sense of everything. That's what we do. And sometimes we also try to say things aren't possible when they are, because things that are beyond our comprehension must not be possible, and that's not true. I look at very similar things with the spiritual realm, as far as, like ghosts and the supernatural. I believe there's an explanation for it. I believe a lot of them things are entirely possible and true. to an extent. But I believe it's a lot of it exists possibly either interdimensionally or in between dimensions. A lot of possibilities of what or how these things exist. And I'm going to be done here in just a second. A lot of different reasons why these, like this, the paranormal exists, and trying to wrap the human mind around it. We've created a lot of spooky ookies, and I think the human mind's a funny thing, and the kind of things that we create trying to make sense of things that don't make sense is sometimes just an absolute trip. At any rate, I hope I didn't bore you guys to death. This is the first show where I've ever really, like, kind of done it like based on like something and played some videos and stuff. And I'd like to have some different ideas and try to, go on down a few rabbit holes together and do some stuff like that. Let me know what you thought, and yeah, let me know what you thought, and maybe we'll do some more nerdy rabbit holey kind of fun stuff. I hope I didn't bore you all too much, and I'm going to get out of here. It's just 2 hours long. It's hour and a half is usually my limit, but somebody said Dragonheart said something about patterns and stuff, and I just remembered that video I just watched yesterday. And yeah, I don't read too much into his translation of that, but it's still really neat. Like I said, that's one person's kind of way of interpreting and trying to make logic of something. And like I said, it's people do that a lot, and the left does, especially the left, of kind of saying it has to be the way they see it, and that's just not the case. He's taken his kind of worldview, and it's easy taking something that exists and kind of you're taking your thing and kind of, you know what I mean, wrapping it around it and going, wow, look at it. It's not does not mean that's what it means. It is one interpretation. It could be, but I don't read too much into that kind of thing because I don't like people telling me this is what this means. Show me it. Tell me how neat it is. Then maybe say this is what I think it might mean. That's okay. But don't, say, look at how neat this is and this is what it means. I don't like that. You don't tell people what to think. You show them things and go, wow, look at this. This is really neat. And then you let people draw their own conclusions. I'm telling you that on a lot of this quantum stuff and a lot of the other things in the world and things I see every single day, I don't know how people don't see God in a lot of things they see and do every single day. And I do. There's a fairly simple explanation out there for a lot of things, and it depends on how you look at it. And right now, people want to look at it as science or religion. And I think the reality, it's like listening to two people's stories. The reality typically is somewhere in the middle. And I really think if we start being more open-minded and realizing that science and religion can go together, the truth is in the middle somewhere. I really believe it is. And I hope you enjoyed the show, everybody. That's it for today. You all, God bless you all, and you have a great day. And thank you for joining me. And I'll see you next week. And here's my email if you have any ideas for a show, want to be on the show or anything like that, shoot me an email, man. I'll be glad to talk to you. And or if you want to be on the show or want me to be on your show, and to discuss some of this stuff, man, hit me up there. If you want to make any donations to the show or anything, or send it there. To the progenitor of the IWN family. That'd be Mr. Mike Ball. And like I said, much love, honor, and respect. God bless everyone, and you all have a great day.
Hitting it with Hardwire, we're burning it bright. Living on the edge, we'll ride through the night. No fear in our hearts, just the roar of the steel. Together we rise, now this life feels real. Yeah, held a new path on that twisted black line. A YouTube dream where his past can't confine. With every rev, he's reclaiming his soul, teaching the world how to ride, how to roll. Rising up high when the shadows surround. Hardwire's the name, and he's making it loud. Hitting it with